Greetings, dear ladies. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps away. These channels are slightly different. They're different because they are for you, the sisterhood. Indeed, they will be listened to by others, but they're for you. They're for the ones in the room mostly, and that changes from channel to channel. The cumulative lifetimes represented here, and the ones that were part of the sisterhood early and later, they're different. So the energies of each one is unique. I want to change the name that I call you. I'm tired of dear ladies. There is no gender here except the feminine. Don't be fooled by the voice. My partner is not able to remember what I'm telling you. He has to listen to it later. It's one of the only times that this takes place. It's an honor for the gender that we speak of now. Kryon has no gender. It's that you listen to the one that gives it, who has one. And that's now hidden. So it's just us ladies. Listen, I'm not going to call you ladies anymore. You have a new name, one that I'll use. Perhaps MELE'HA will use it. It's up to her. I want to call you Star Sisters. That's who you are. And that is because your original teaching came from the stars. That's who you are. That was the origination of the knowledge that you carried. You had to have someone from somewhere else give you the energy that you would carry, the information you would carry, that would start a lineage of shamanic females on the planet. Today, my partner talked about the system of reincarnation that would involve gender. When do you come back as another gender? I'll tell you this, that the Star Sisters remained female for a very long time. Time after time, it had to be. For you carried the lineage of the shamanic energy that was female, the star information, as Star Sisters. And so whereas the rest of the planet might come and go with genders, you were female longer than most. And that is etched into you. Old souls that are part of the original Lemurian experience have a far grander idea of who they are than most. Sometimes it's confusing, sometimes it's frustrating. What if I tell you you walk this planet basically frustrated and in trouble? Because deep down you recognize you're a Star Sister. You recognize the shamanic lineage is in there, it's in the DNA, and yet you're surrounded by issues. Some of you are bold enough to think and say, well, this shouldn't be happening. I'm better than this. Not in an egotistical way, but saying my lineage is grander than my current experience. And you'd be right. I want to paint a picture. And this is something I want you to think about because what's coming next. As you know, and we have told you before, Lemuria, the small continent of Mu, was prior to what is today the Hawaiian Islands, all one island, huge, pushed up by a bubble of magma at this hot spot, which is still Hawaii today, so high that there were even remnants of glaciers being formed, higher than any other mountain on the planet. Today you think of Hawaii as volcanoes and lava. Well, it was then as well. It's always been active, dear ones. Hot spots often are that way. Hawaii in particular, and Lemuria in particular. And so that which is volcanic and the rocks accordingly was part of your upbringing. And yet it wasn't the same. Because as the island was pushed up, the rim of the volcano was always in snow. It was treacherous. You didn't go there. Today, you're able to walk to the rim and throw in things and do ceremony. It was not possible. It was too high. It was too difficult. It was too cold. There was too much ice. But the kinds of volcanoes that are Hawaiian are not the kind that build up and explode. They often will carry an attribute where they will pop out of the sides of the mountain and lava will carry it down at a lower elevation to the water. And so there was always lava flowing to the water. And you could find it without going too high up. I want to introduce you to someone who's nameless. She's a star sister. Maybe she's one of you. And she's made her way into one of those lower altitude places where the lava has exposed itself. Many times the lava was carried in tubes underground, not very far, but you couldn't see it flow. She had to be where a place existed, where it flowed, where she could see it. She couldn't get too close, it was too hot. But she could get close enough where if it was entering a lava tube, it would be far enough away where you could see it flow. And she made her way to this place by herself. And when she got to that place where she was poised on the rim of the canal, where the lava was flowing into a tube, it was far enough away not to hurt her, and yet it was too hot. You saw her take something from her skirt and unroll it. A giant leaf. And on that leaf there were inscriptions. It wasn't writing, it wasn't words, they were little pictures that she had scribed into it with the edge of a twig. She looked at it for a moment. She held it upside down and let it go into the lava. It had to go into the lava. If it got stuck on the way down, she'd go make another one. And into the lava it went, completely and totally consumed instantly by the fire. You saw her raise her hands in thanks and a big smile. And she turned around and went back to the village. I want you to remember this because of what's coming. Star Sisters, you started out with such precious information. It's still in there somewhere. How far back it was doesn't matter. Listen, I'll tell you again. Only humans count years in linear fashion. In your akash, it's about energy. It's not linear. You don't have to have a bigger power or energy to go further back in akashic reading. It's all together. Can you imagine what has happened to you, with you, for you, against you, since you might have been in Lemuria? Oh, eons of time. So much happened. Lifetime after lifetime. Can you imagine the children you've had? Ladies, star sisters. Can you imagine the children you've lost? It's only in modern day, by the way, that you expect children to live. You knew that, don't you? You knew that. Mothers, you know that. There was a good 50% chance they would not make it. You didn't name them until they were months old. It was a different time. Lemuria, you expected them to live. After that, you didn't. Who are you? What have you been through? There is a whole lot of stuff. I'm going to call it junk. That you carry around with you that obfuscates, covers up the precious information from the stars. And here you are in a sisterhood meeting, trying your best to have akashic remembrance of solid, spiritual, pure things from the stars. What do you do? How can you take that which is the junk and decipher it and separate it? The wheat from the chaff, the good from that you don't need, the darkness from the light. In your akash, this is not difficult for an advanced human to come. I told you tonight that you're going to be very close to your innate, the great sorter of akashic information. And all you have to do is think about sorting it out, and it'll sort itself. And you'll start to be part of and remember who you were, but not now. You haven't got there yet. Dear ones, the Lemurian that you were wasn't there either. You were simply a student. You did not have elevated consciousness to the point where your innate was part of your biology. This is going to come later. What you had instead was precious information that actually manifested energy. That's what shamans do. Covered up year after year, lifetime after lifetime with junk. Wouldn't it be great to be able to separate the junk? So let's talk about it. First of all, it is doable. But in this energy, it still requires a process. MELE'HA may not have thought about this, but her entire training has been in processes. She stands at the right time, at the right place, being able to lead the processes of the ceremonies that you would have today and in the past years. It is part of who she is in this lifetime, marrying to who she was as your teacher. Did you know that in Lemuria there were processes as well? As pure as Lemuria was, it still lasted a very long time. Only those in the first wave were pure, and then human nature and duality would create junk. Experiences you would have, disappointments, working the puzzle of dark and light, even as a shaman, even as a shaman, even as a shaman. It would create the junk. So I'll give you the process, and it may sound familiar to even things you might even be doing today. Here's the definition of junk. Anything that keeps you from seeing your magnificence is junk. Anything. Frustration, fears, inappropriate thoughts, lack of faith, lack of trust, unworthiness. It's all junk. Layer on layer, you've experienced it. It's huge, it's enormous, but I want to tell you, it doesn't hold a candle to the pure information you were given by the stars. And to this day, all that wants to come out and make you understand who you are. Today you've got language, elegance, writing, paper. I want you to start writing down in private, meaning no one else can see what you're writing. You can do it with others if you wish. In ceremony, you can do it alone. I want you to write down the nitty-gritty junk, the stuff that hurts to write. Not your wishes for tomorrow, your frustrations of the past, the sorrow of losing the children, the anger you've had at others around you, both genders, the angers that you've had of your parents, inappropriate you see now, frustrating to the max over and over. The difficult things to write and scribe down. The frustrations that you don't even want to think about, that you've gone through even this lifetime, to put on a piece of paper. And when you think you're done, anything that separates you from the magnificence of God, anything, when you think you're done, I want you to fold it quickly so you don't have to look at it ever again, ever. And then I want you to do a ceremony. That's the process. The best thing you could do is burn it. You remember that, because that's exactly what the shamanic woman was doing. That was the star sister looking for the lava, the hottest thing she could find to dispose of that which she had inscribed on a leaf with a twig in picture form. The inappropriate anger that she had had based upon the star information, she knew it was wrong. She was working with her duality, as all humans do. And when she got it to burn, she knew it was free of her akash. This carries over even today into certain religions. What they do in order to cleanse has nothing to do with sin and everything to do with duality. All of you have it. It's about time to get rid of the junk. That's the message. I want you to remember this because you all did it. It worked then as well. Because when you do this, your innate feels it. It's purposeful. It's a ceremonial, purposeful consciousness, and your body knows what you're doing. Your akash knows what you're doing. And in the process, the eraser comes out, and the frustrations diminish. And finally, they're gone. Is it possible to erase things from your memory of the akash? I'll tell you this. What happened, happened, but your perception of its importance changes. If you bury something dark and you dig a hole and you put dirt on it, does it still exist? Yes, 6 feet under. And that's where it belongs. Star sisters, I invite you, one way or another, to burn the junk. And so it is.